Hi, welcome back to Cheyenne, Wyoming Urban Gardener. This is Debbie. I'm not sure that you're going to be able to see this, but I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit. Hopefully that won't mess it up too much. But we just had a really nice soaking rainstorm here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I know that there are some lines, like some electrical lines and stuff in the way. But do you see that over there? We got ourselves a rainbow. It is about 8:15 p.m. Kind of hard to see it. It's not a full rainbow, it's only a partial rainbow. I can't really see it all the way through, but we do have a rainbow. So that was something really nice to see. I came out here to check the garden. Didn't even realize there was a rainbow out here. And then I opened the door and there it was, and I luckily had my camera with me, or my phone. So look at that rainbow, everybody. And if you are religious, of course you think about God's promise. So there we are with the rainbow. Anyway, let's check and see what's going on with the garden since we got all this nice new rain. And we're over here in the herb garden right now, which has actually turned into more of vegetable garden than herb garden so much anymore. If you notice something different over here, I had some really tall purple plants that were over in this section, as well as over in here. And that was the salvia, and I went ahead and took it out. I am still working to get some of the roots out of there, so most likely it will still come up again in the spring. But I am working to try to get the roots out of there. I love the salvia. It's beautiful and the bees really love it. Unfortunately, it just is too big in here. It's like way too big, and it was just basically shading out a whole lot of things, as well as just kind of restricting growth on some things. And I don't think they're so healthy for the soil because they just seem to be sucking everything that this soil had out. And I've noticed that even when I removed them, which was a couple of days ago, everything has just really perked up. I also noticed that they harbored a lot of what we call in the South pill bugs, or I think some people call them sow bugs, or roly-polies. So I noticed that they house a lot of those, and I'm talking like I wish I had gotten video of the day that I pulled them out, because there were hundreds of them that came out of the roots. I basically set them on the cement right behind here, and there were just roly-polies, sow bugs, pill bugs just coming out everywhere. So I think that could have been contributing to some things that were chewing on some plants in here. And I've noticed since the roly-polies have had to find a new home, I didn't kill any of them. I just let them crawl off, and they basically crawled off in all different directions. I have noticed that there is less and less damage in here on any of the plant leaves. In fact, there was like 2 squash plants that came up right there. One of them was chewed up completely, and this one is looking just fine. So I planted some more butterdish squash in here and some zucchini. And they're a very short maturity on those, about 45 days. So those will be taking off really well very soon, and hopefully we'll get a harvest out of them before it gets too cold. And I went ahead and left the lettuce. I was going to pull it out of here and replant some more, but it just looks so pretty, and I tasted it and it's not bitter at all. And what I've been doing as a trick is just, and it hasn't went to bolt or anything in the heat, and we've had temperatures up in the 90s to 100. So the 4 Seasons, this is the 4 Seasons lettuce. It is very heat tolerant, so you might want to jot that down if you're looking for a lettuce that will tolerate the heat, because I've noticed that the leaves are very similar to Bib lettuce, and I've not had any issues with Bib lettuce ever going to bolt or anything like that. So definitely check this variety of lettuce out. It's called 4 Seasons lettuce. It is a rusty red color. It is slow, I will tell you that. It is very slow to get to maturity, but it is just beautiful when it does. It's a short variety of a lettuce, so it's like very compact in size, but it is very delicious too. So definitely check that one out. I planted some more dill in here to fill in for where we've harvested some of the dill. We've left others behind, and I'm getting ready to harvest that too, so I probably want to plant some more in here. And we planted some beans all around and in between the lemon balm, because I'm going to be actually harvesting a lot off of that, so it's going to be a lot smaller here very shortly. So we've got some green beans that are planted in here, contender beans, 40-day variety, so they will be producing in about 40 days. They are already starting to sprout, I noticed, and they've only been in here for 2 days. And we've got those cucumbers that were hidden in here, and now they're doing a lot better that the salvia has been removed and was shading them out. And we've got those cucumbers there. And our elf thyme is still just looking beautiful. I'm having to come in here and do a lot of weeding because we've got grass that keeps wanting to invade in here. So I did get in here and weed that out, and now I'm going to have to do it again. And that's only been a couple of days because it's been raining. Yay for rain, because we definitely needed the rain. We were basically going into a drought. We got the 2 birdhouse gourds over here. Still, again, I'm not sure they're going to do anything, but they've actually got on some more mature leaves, and they're looking a lot better. So who knows? Maybe they will, because we've still got about 50 days, 45, 50 days of grow time. So catch up, guys. Let's see what you guys can do. And we've got all of our cosmos in here. It's getting pretty large now. I'm expecting it'll start blooming pretty soon. We've got another cucumber right there, and it is running, so it's got runners on it, and I'll need to get it up on the trellis when it gets a little bit taller. Unfortunately, our lilies are gone. They bloomed and gone. And I'm actually thinking about, I'm going to go ahead and get these separated out and probably plant them in another area, probably where my other lilies are, because I think they'll do a little bit better there, at least half of them. I'm not going to take all of them out of here, but I do want to get this elf thyme out of here because it's taking up this large section here. So it's a good probably 5 feet or so of elf thyme here in a big circle, and then we've got probably another 5-6 feet here of elf thyme. So we don't need all of that elf thyme, and it needs to come on out of there, I think, so we can get some more room in there for some other plants. And we're going to take out some of these daylilies and plant them in other areas. I did harvest a lot off of my oregano already this season, especially that one, and I think I'm going to go ahead and harvest the rest of these because I don't need it spreading, and I did notice it has started to spread a little bit, and I don't need it spreading any bigger than it is. So we'll keep it cut back. I need to go ahead and harvest my lavender as well. Best lavender year ever. And we've got our morning glories that are running up on the trellis now. So I think one of them actually has a bloom on it that's about ready to start. And we've got some more red lettuce right here. This is the red marvel lettuce, so it's very similar to the Four Seasons, but it'll look a little bit different. Now, as for how the watermelons are doing, oh my goodness, have they exploded like crazy. We've got a couple more that have pollinated there. So, though there will be at least 2 more watermelons on here, and you can see that one is getting pretty large in there, and it looks a lot different than the first one that started. The first one is a much darker watermelon. You can see it right here. So I forget whether or not that I actually have 2 different varieties maybe in this container, but I think these are supposed to be the sugar baby watermelons, but 2 completely different looking watermelons. Probably tells me I did plant 2 different varieties in here because I don't care if they cross. So that might be the situation there. And if you're looking and seeing that black trash bag, that's actually leaves, extra leaves in our compost bin here. This watermelon has not started producing as yet, but it does have a lot of blooms on it, so I expect pretty soon it'll have some watermelons on it. But we have basically watermelons and cantaloupes on everything. This is the cantaloupe here. We've got one that pollinated down near the bottom. It's getting a little bit darker now. We're getting towards 8:30, so getting a little bit darker. I did find a pepper sucker that had rooted, so I went ahead and separated it off of the mother plant and then put it over here in with my other pepper plant. And I've got a borage that's blooming right there, and I'll probably take that out because it's getting a little bit too big for the container and kind of shading out my pepper plant. And then I've got a cucumber in there as well. And we've got another watermelon that hasn't started producing as yet, but it is blooming like crazy. And I did see some little bitty watermelons on it. And we've got another cucumber here, I think. I did not label this one, so this could very well possibly be a cantaloupe. It may be some of the Charentais, I'm not real sure. These cucumbers are starting to really take off now, and I'm thinking about going ahead and transplanting them into the herb garden because we've got a little bit of room in there left, and I think that they could do a lot better over there because that pot is kind of small. And we did have 2 of the black diamond watermelons that have set. I'll show you those in just a moment. And we've got 2 watermelons in here. And I think these are the Crimson Sweets that just set a few days ago, and they're already almost as big as my hand. So they've got one right there, and then we come around to the other side and we've got one right there, and this one's a little bit larger. So we do have a couple of those in there. We do have some cucumbers that are coming on in this cucumber plant, and I think this one is the spring burpless. The tag still says spring burpless on it, so this is the spring burpless cucumber. We've got a couple of, I think these are the straight 8 cucumbers over here that are just now blooming, so they'll start setting cucumbers pretty soon. And then we've got another cucumber plant back there that I think is also a straight 8. And then we've got some other things going on over here. We got a couple of pepper plants. We did pull one of those off today to try it out. It is a Big Jim pepper, so it is a hotter pepper, and my daughter said it is indeed a little bit hotter. She was the one to try the spicy. So, and I think we have a cucumber plant in there. I'm not real sure anymore. We'll find out when it fruits. We've got a couple of the Space Master cucumbers in this pot. They haven't started putting on cucumbers as yet, but they are blooming like crazy, so I expect it'll be anytime soon. And we've got some little watermelons setting on this watermelon. This is the Miller's Farmstead watermelon, so it's going to be a little bit bigger variety, probably somewhere around 10 to 15 pounds. So hopefully we will get some out of that. And like I said, we got a really good rainstorm here today, this evening. So it is hitting our kiddie pool, so we're going to have to actually pull this out a little bit because you can see where it's splashing the soil up on the house. And there was some rosemary in there where it was splashing up, so I'm hoping it didn't kill it out. But, you know, rosemary's pretty tough, so I think it'll probably last through. But all of our watermelons in there, those are the doll baby watermelons, are just going nuts. They are running out everywhere, and it's fine if they do so. But I expect they're blooming like crazy as well. So I'm expecting there's probably a watermelon or 2 in there. I just, it's kind of getting so crazy to try to find them right now. So I'll wait until they get a little bit larger and we can see them. But we're still getting strawberries out of here like crazy as well. You can kind of see some strawberries poking out right there out of the foliage. And the strawberries have not let up. They're not getting shaded out by the watermelons at all. They're getting just enough light in there to keep them going. In fact, I think it's even helped them out a little bit to have a little bit of some shade in there. They are blooming like crazy right now, so they're putting on more strawberries since we've done this. And the basil in the middle, doing fantastic as well. I've harvested a good gallon-sized bag worth of leaves off of these, and have got them drying right now inside. Our butter dish squash that we have in the container that was doing so poorly at the beginning is finally starting to perk up. We've got some nice dark green leaves. They were yellow before, and it's perked up and starting to pull out of the situation that it was in since we changed the soil and changed the container. And one of the sun gold cherry tomatoes ended up not being a sun gold cherry tomato, so I'm a little disappointed in that. I had gotten the seed from Etsy for these sun gold cherry tomatoes, and it was seed that I had saved from last season as well. And I guess they got mixed up with a little something else, and to me it's looking like the tomato either is aroma or a San Marzano. You see the tomato in there hanging? That very much looks like aroma to me. Does it look like aroma to anyone else? But anyway, it's getting fairly large, so it's definitely not a sun gold. So right now, there was 2 of those plants that I put in containers in those square foot pots like that. And there are 2 of those, and now I'm wondering if the other one is also something different. But honestly, it has a tomato on it. It looks like a sun gold. Here is the other watermelon plant that we have. This is the Black Diamond watermelon, and that was just letting you know that 2 of the watermelons did pollinate. Unfortunately, they're near the top, so we'll most likely have to get a sling for these to hold them in, because the Black Diamond watermelons get pretty large. So you can see 2 did pollinate and set, 1 on either side. So we'll most likely have to get a sling to hold those guys up and figure out a way to make sure that they don't end up breaking off or breaking the plant. But anyway, that's what happens when you have a container. We've got cucumbers and cantaloupes and all kinds of things beginning to set in the large barrel pot over here, the barrel container that had the 3 white Crenshaws, the 3 white spine cucumbers, and 3 Sharon-Tay cantaloupe. And they have just been going nuts with all of the rain and everything. I did get in here, by the way, and you can see this little pile of leaves. I trimmed out a lot of foliage out of these just for some better air circulation down in near the base of the container. So you can see now that we can see some soil in there. We could not see anything before. It was just all foliage. So I did take a lot of the foliage out. So far it is looking great. Right here is a cucumber. Looks like it did pollinate because it's already about at least 1.5 inches long. Even though it's still showing it's bloomed, it got pollinated at some point today. So we do have a white spine cucumber coming on. I'm very excited about that. It'll probably be the first cucumber. Even though we've got a cucumber on the spring burpless, they take a little bit longer once they start setting fruit because they're so big. And there's the other supposed to be sun gold cherry tomato. And let me show you the tomato that's on it. And I suspect that it is correct that it is a sun gold cherry tomato because you can see it right there. It is smaller. So looking good. Our tarragon is really bushing out now. And I think I'm pretty much ready to start harvesting on it and dry some leaves. And our other Space Master cucumbers that are over here at the base of our lemon tree, I did thin those out, and as you can see, they are definitely getting to be much larger plants. They are blooming, so they should have cucumbers start up pretty soon. And then I had some snapdragons that I had planted in here as well, and those are looking great. Our yellow pear tomato has massive amounts of yellow pear tomatoes on it. In fact, all of the plants do that are yellow pear that I have. So they are just going by leaps and bounds of tomatoes, and it's about almost 6 feet tall now. You can just see how tall it is. The stakes that we have in here, the bamboo stakes, are 6 feet, and if I stretched it out, it would be at the top of that. So about 6 feet on those, and it'll just keep growing and keep producing until it frosts. And the one that we had broken earlier in the season, looking very good. Starting to get some tomatoes on it as well. And that one was a sun gold cherry tomato as well, and they are true to form. I had an accident here a second ago. I'd planted some summer savory in here in this pot, and I accidentally tripped on it. So ended up with them on the ground. So I'll have to get that soil back up, put it back in the pot, and plant a few more seeds, because I'm not real sure that they'll come up once they've, I don't know how deep they'll be covered up, so I don't know. Anyway, everything is looking absolutely fantastic. We're getting pretty late in the evening and it's going to start getting dark on me, so I'm not sure how much we can go through, but I'll just keep going through as much as we can until it gets too dark. Getting lots of blooms on the Gerbera daisy. Again, this thing is supposed to be purple, but for some reason on camera it shows up as pink. I keep complaining about that. Anyway, we've got some more burpee pickler cucumbers that are planted at the base of each one of our hibiscus plants. You can see there's a hibiscus bloom right there. Those are beginning to put up some mature leaves as well. They are a 40 to 45 day variety, so they should be getting pretty quick. And these were planted a couple of days behind two pots that we have over here, so you can see just in a couple of days a difference in growth. These are a couple days ahead and they're already looking like that, so I'm expecting to get quite a nice set of cucumbers off of those. I'm just loving these hibiscus. They have bloomed and bloomed and bloomed so much. There's another big bloom right there. And we still have buds all over the place. You can see all the buds everywhere. This one's getting ready to open. On both sets, we've got two different sizes, and these also just blooming like crazy. And we have collected so many of the dried blooms that we will definitely be set for the winter in tea and hibiscus sugar. And here's all of our fall plants. They were waiting just to get a little bit larger before we transplant them out. And of course I've planted extra and separated them out. When I thinned them, I went ahead and put them into other pots to give away to people out in the community to get them motivated to grow or to replace plants that they've lost. But we have Savoy cabbage in here, early golden acre cabbage, and broccoli, Deciso broccoli. I'm not really sure how to pronounce the name, but it is all looking fantastic. So that's going to be our fall planting. I'm actually going to also take out the peas that we had. We've got a good harvest off of our peas. Everybody got out here yesterday, and yesterday or day before yesterday, and got out here and harvested the peas. So I'm thinking about going ahead and taking the plants up because they've suffered a little bit in the heat, and I noticed at the bottom that they were starting to yellow a little bit. So we're going to go in there and pull those out and then plant some first 13 pea seeds, which are supposed to have about 13 peas in a pod, and see if we can get those up and going, because they're a little bit frost tolerant and cold tolerant, so they should be able to handle a frost, and we should have peas hopefully before October. And if the weather holds out and it doesn't snow like crazy and kill all the peas or anything like that, but we'll try it. We'll try and see if we can get anything up and going, and get some peas that perhaps we can shell. Right now we have mostly peas that you can eat with the shell and all, or the hull, or whatever you want, pod and peas and all. Corn's still looking amazing. It is wet, so the pollen is down right now on those. They were just starting to really throw pollen around everywhere to try to get the silks pollinated, but a lot of them don't have the silks on them yet. They just basically started, so once the silks start, hopefully they'll dry out enough tomorrow for the pollen to really fall and pollinate the ears of corn. And again, this is the Early Sun Glow hybrid, and they've actually got a couple of ears per stalk going on. So I'm looking for a really good corn harvest this year. I noticed that it was a little bit different, and like they're really enjoying the heat and temperatures and stuff like that, because I've never really had a whole lot of them do a double ear like that and it actually be decent, but it looks like it's going to be very decent. These definitely got pollinated, and I've been coming out here and shaking them when it was dry, and this particular stalk here and this one here were already pollinating like crazy, and they're about, exactly as I said, about 4.5 feet tall now. These get to about 4.5 to 5 feet. sometimes 4 feet, and sometimes they're a little bit smaller. They are a shorter variety of corn. They start throwing up their tassels at about 2.5 feet and then get to about 4.5 feet. But some of them still stay small. They don't really, a lot of them get super huge. Like some of these are about 3 feet right now, including the tassels, but they'll still have nice ears of corn on them. So no issues with that. But it looks like we're going to have a pretty good corn harvest, I hope, crossing fingers. But I've noticed a lot of people across the country that thought they were going to have good corn and end up losing their entire corn harvest. That it just didn't do anything. There were ears and nothing in them. So let's hope that does not happen to our situation here. Nasturtium are getting to the point of where they're probably going to start blooming soon. And we've got zinnias. We had our first zinnia open. Right here it is. It ended up being a pink one. And then another one that's a lighter pink. We've got a couple more that are getting ready to open as well. And our beans are running up on the corn like crazy and blooming like crazy as well. So all of the corn is looking amazing. Potatoes looking fantastic. Our Delicata squash is actually getting runners and is starting to actually do some running. And so is our lemon cucumber. We got a lemon cucumber right here, and it is starting to put a runner up. You can see the runner right here, and it is climbing the trellis exactly as I had hoped that it would. Our Kellogg's breakfast tomatoes are finally blooming, so maybe we'll get some tomatoes out of them. And my grandson's little garden bags are growing very nicely. We are getting beans like crazy now. I've been picking almost every day, a handful, and then putting them in the bag. And we've got zinnias over here that are starting to go nuts and wanting to start blooming. And our red curry squash is finally putting some runners on right here. We've got this row of red curry squash, and then we've got another row over in that section we'll get to in just a moment. But anyway, these are starting to put the runners out and are blooming, and I've noticed some little squash already starting to set on these. And our tomatoes are still looking great. We've got onions that are planted, evergreen bunching onions, all along the sides in the back. Those are up, doing great. These 2 pepper plants had a couple of peppers on them. They're starting to bloom, but I've noticed that one of them just not doing well. And again, they struggled a little bit the entire season when I got them. So not real sure what's going on with those 2. Might go ahead and rip them out just because I think they've got something going on, maybe a disease. Who knows? Tomatillos are setting tomatillos like crazy. You can see their little husks starting to hang everywhere, and they're getting quite large. So I'm looking for some really nice sized tomatillos on these. And our beans are running like crazy. Japanese yard longs are just about halfway up the trellises on a couple of them. And they're blooming. They're blooming. You can see the blooms. So they're setting beans. The rattlesnake pole beans are really starting to climb now. And I hope they do fill out the trellis. It's just so pretty when the trellis gets completely filled up with beans like it did last season. And you can see they are starting to run up the green trellises now as well. And definitely the half runners have really outdone themselves. I'm getting beans all along the half runners now, especially at the base. So just looking amazing. And my onions are getting a good size now too. So you can see onion bulbs down in there. So that is exciting. But unfortunately, here's the sad news. We have one of our super sauce tomatoes that has ended up getting blight. Again, I think that those Marzanos, the San Marzanos that I got, came in here with blight. And I think it's a contagious type of blight and infected some more of my tomato plants. So I'm actually going to lose that super sauce tomato. There's another San Marzano right there that is infected with blight. I'm going to have to take that one out. And now this one is starting to show up with blight as well. And this one actually has some tomatoes on it and blooms, and we may lose the tomatoes on it because of the blight. These are still healthy looking, but I'm trying to nip this in the bud before they get spread to other ones. But that super sauce over there, I'm going to lose it because of blight. The other ones still look like they're not affected right now, so crossing fingers it doesn't happen. Again, I've got giant ox hearts, I have Old German, I have super sauce, San Marzanos, yellow pear tomatoes, sun gold cherry tomatoes, and the Kellogg's breakfast tomatoes. So I gotta nip it in the bud before we end up losing all of the tomato plants. So cross our fingers. There's the peas. The peas are still looking great as far as being up the trellis, but I did notice they're starting to get a little bit thinner and they're starting to yellow up at the base, which tells me that they are taxing out, and we need to go ahead and get them pulled and get some more planted. We did have the 3 younger rows, you can see those down there, so we will leave those, but we will be taking out the larger plants here along the trellis. And then of course we've got the younger rows over here as well, and those are still doing okay, so we'll just take out the ones against the trellis. We have yellow straightneck squash all through here now. I noticed them today, bloomed, got pollinated. We've had honeybees like crazy and mason bees like crazy, but fortunately we have it's a place called a Bee Friendly company that is just about a mile away, that is on a couple of streets over, and we get a lot of their honeybees that get traffic into my garden because I'm one of the few places that actually has flowers and vegetables that have flowers on them, and they enjoy coming and visiting all of my flowers. And then I have all the calendula and marigolds and cosmos and zinnias all through here, and they're blooming like crazy. And I noticed that there were just bees all over the place here today. And we do have our roses, the knockout roses that we got on clearance. They are blooming now, so we did rehabilitate those very, very well, and they are blooming. Sorry about the lighting situation. It is getting dark, so we'll hurry up and finish this real quick. We do have our Delicata Squash over here. Very difficult to see in the dark. I don't have a light for my camera or anything, my video camera, so they are starting to really pick up in growth. You can see they're wanting to put on runners now, and all of our pepper plants are producing like crazy. We've got peppers all over the place, and I did get in here today and trim out a lot of the cabbage leaves at the bottom, as well as my cauliflower leaves at the bottom and my broccoli leaves at the bottom. So you can see they kind of look naked